we do this thing and we grow. We want to become broadcasters as we get older. We want to be in the broadcast business. And I was just mentioning the Dodgers, so how can I not mention the Dodgers without mentioning one of the greatest members of that organization, not as a player, but somebody that stood in the broadcast booth, and Vin Scully. Now I got a lot of love for Vin Scully. He's a Bronx boy, born and raised, well, not born and raised in the Bronx, but born here. He's been calling games, or he'd been calling games for almost over 7 decades, calling Dodger games. He's called games where Jackie Robinson was on the field, to Sandy Koufax, to Kirk Gibson, to Clayton Kershaw. I want to be an MLB broadcaster. I'm 24 years old, but that is my dream. And growing up, I always loved to pick little tidbits from every broadcaster that I've seen. I have the privilege of almost every day to be able to listen to John Sterling and his little quirkiness, his corniness with the names that he has and nicknames for everybody. But when you listen to Vin Scully, he calls games with such grace. It was almost like it was poetic every time you listen to a Dodger game. And he is truly a voice of baseball. And every broadcaster that you hear today has taken a little something from him, whether that be a Michael Kay that I listen to all the time, or a Bob Costas, or Joe Buck. Everybody has picked something up from Vin Scully. I vividly remember from these videos. I love to watch old school baseball videos. And when Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run, there's a story that Vin Scully got up from the booth, went to the back, took his headphones off, and poured himself a cup of coffee, came back, and the crowd was still roaring. He did a great job of knowing how to let the moment just take over. And if you ever go back to watch that 715th home run, there's just he's not on the mic, and you just hear this crowd. It's so beautiful. One of the greatest records in baseball is broken by one of the most, probably the greatest baseball player of all time, in Hank Aaron. And Vin Scully just let the moment live. You know, it's so cool. Now I look back at it, I'm thinking at the greatest player ever was in the box that night, and the greatest broadcaster ever was in the booth that night. Vin Scully will always be remembered. There's a reason why when you drive up to Dodger Stadium, the avenue isn't named by all the legendary players that played there. It's named after him. It's Vin Scully Avenue. R.I.P. Vin, one of the greatest to ever do it. Everybody that has been there and everybody that's going to come after you, we all learned something from you. We're all students of the game because of Vin Scully.
Yeah, I feel like you hit the nail on the head. I feel like he was so great at what he did. People growing up now, they're trying to emulate a certain broadcaster. And I feel like so many people try to emulate Vin Scully, and there never ever be someone a broadcaster close to what he was for so long, from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, man.
Go back and I know, Brandon, you're not a big baseball fan, but he had this amazing call in the World Series. It was Dodgers versus Oakland. Kirk Gibson, all-star player for the Dodgers at the time, he was injured. Comes up to the plate in Game One of the World Series. He wasn't in the starting lineup. Came up to pinch hit, and he comes in and he hits the big home run in the game. And Vince Scully delivered this line, and I don't want to botch it, but I believe he says, "In a season that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened," while Kirk Gibson is limping around the bases, pumping his arms while he crosses home plate. It's honestly one of the greatest baseball moments of all time. And if you go through a bunch of baseball highlights, you're gonna hear Vince Scully's voice on half of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it's lovely words from Justin. Um, I can't say really much on Vin Scully because, like Justin alluded to, I'm not really a baseball fan, but I can appreciate and understand greatness. And from all the legends I hear talk, all the baseball and sports historians talk, former players, current players, name them all. They all have the utmost respect for a one Vin Scully. So rest in peace, Vin Scully.